Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to make an easy watercolor painting for beginners, and I'm going to be using this watercolor paper from some unknown German brand, and it's simple cellulose, only 210 grams per square meter, so nothing fancy here. And I'm just going to use a half of the page. I'm gonna be painting on this board because I know it's gonna get messy and I don't want to ruin my table. We're not going to make any drawings because it is very simple, very easy to paint. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna take the painter's tape and just mark where I'm going to have my horizon. And I'm just eyeballing. You don't need to be precise at all. Now I'm going to use this big mop brush from Da Vinci. It's synthetics. I don't know what size it is, but it also doesn't matter at all what kind of brush. I just needed to wet the paper. So now let's wet the top part of our painting. And this is where our sky is gonna be. Now I'm going to take my other Da Vinci brush, and this is size 0. And I'm going to take some Quinachridone Gold, but you can take any warm yellow that you have. It can be also raw sienna, for example, yellow ochre, whatever works for you. And now I'm just gonna slightly mark where the evening sun is gonna be. Oh, and by the way, the paper is gonna buckle. It's not a cotton paper. But I didn't type the edges because I don't always like the white border on the paintings. So, but if you don't want your paper to buckle, then please feel free to add a painting on the sides. And this is going to be just our first layer, so I'm going very light. There's no reason to overdo it. It's watercolor. There's no reason to rush. And now I'm taking Cobalt Blue, but you can take any lighter blue that you have. And I'm trying to be careful and not let it flow too much in Quinachridone Gold, so it doesn't float, so that it doesn't create too much green. But if you see that it is already happening, so what you can do, you'll just take a little bit of pink. In my case, it's Quinachridone Rose. And all my paints are from Daniel Smoth. And if you want to know what other colors I have in my palette, then just feel free to check the description down below. I will leave a link to the video that I made about it. And there is no system to it whatsoever. Just paint whatever you like. And this is the first layer. Now let's dry the paper. I'm going to be using a heating tool, but you can use a hair dryer or just wait until the paper is completely dry. So I've tried my paper, it buckled a lot. It doesn't matter, we're working with what we have and it's gonna be fine. And if you would like to check whether the paper is completely dry, simply touch it a little bit with the back side of your hand. And then if it feels a little bit cold, like here, for example, for me right now, then it means it's not fully dry and I need to dry some more. And if it doesn't feel cold, then the paper is fully dry and is ready to paint on. So now the paper is fully dry and you can see that the colors lightened up, which is typical for watercolor. So I want to make a second layer of the sky to make it a little bit brighter. But if you're happy with what you're seeing right now, then feel free to skip the step. Make sure that you wet very carefully so that you do not lift the first layer. I want a little bit more blue here. A little bit more pink, but it's all up to you. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Just don't mix your yellow with your blue, or try to avoid it not too much, because otherwise you'll get green. And if you're using cheaper if you're using cheaper paper, then it might happen that you'll get blooms over here, but in this case it is okay because it's sky, it's clouds, so don't stress about it. I'm happy with how it is looking right now, so I'm going to dry it once again. Now the second layer is dry and I taped a little bit the corner so that it doesn't buckle too much. But I'm not gonna touch the sky anymore, so now we can paint the mountain. And I'm taking my Da Vinci brush again, and I'm taking my Cobalt Blue. So you take the same blue that you used for the sky, maybe a little bit darker, or just take it in a more concentrated form because the mountain should stand out on the horizon. And what you do is that you start with the blue but as you start going down towards the horizon, mix in a bit of magenta in your blue, because this is where the sun is hitting the mountain, so this would imitate the light falling on it. You can even take some pure magenta. And you see how nice it is when you glaze, because then this yellow peeks through the pink. And then you can just do it randomly. More blue on the left side, on the side of the mountain that's in the shadow, and a little bit more pink on the right side where there is some sun falling. And in the very bottom I'm gonna add a little bit of Indonthrene Blue, and this is a dark blue, so if you have Any other kind of darker blue, you can use that one. You can mix in a little bit of black in your blue if you have it. So, something like this. And I will also add a tip of the other mountain there. Onto the other side of the sun. And if you feel like, okay, maybe it's a bit too dark or it needs more magenta, you can lift a little bit and instead add the color that you want. I just want the tips to match. A little bit of dark blue in the bottom. So now we can remove our tape. And we can start painting the sea. Here you would need to be a little bit accurate when you paint the sea, so if you don't feel confident enough and you're afraid that your paint will flow everywhere, make sure to first dry the mountains. But I'm just going to proceed the way it is. So I'm taking my big juicy brush again and carefully wetting the area of the sea. I'm moving as close as I can to the mountains, but you know, if suddenly it starts flowing, it's okay, not a big deal. We're gonna paint over it anyway. And now let's paint the sea, and it will be more yellow where the sun is. We're also leaving a little bit of white. While the other parts of the sea, they will be blue. And again, try not to mix too much, or not at all, your blue with yellow. I can put a little bit of rose there because we have all those purple clouds in the sky, and it will help preventing blue mixing with the yellow. And now the interesting part. Let's try to make some sunbeams. So I'm taking my brush. It's clean and dry now. And I'm just lifting the paint. Then I'm drying the brush again. And then I'm doing it again. And here the success depends a lot on the paper you are using, on the colors you are using. For example, if you use cotton paper, the paint might flow back very quickly, so you need to repeat several times. So if it doesn't work, don't get frustrated. Just leave it the way it is. It's gonna turn out pretty anyway. And also, if as blue you use, for example, phthalo blue, which is usually quite a staining color, then it might be an issue as well. But if you're using ultramarine blue, which is a classic in most of the sets, Cobalt Blue, Indonthrene Blue, these colors are quite easy to lift, so that shouldn't be a problem. Just make sure to keep your brush clean and dry. I like the way it's looking right now, so let's dry it. And now the first layer of the sea is dry. Oh, I'm going to tape here a little bit more. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make a second layer. The thing is that we have a mountain here, and here is the sun. So it means that there will be some kind of shadow from the mountain on the sea. That's one thing. And another thing is that usually usually the reflections are desaturated. What it means that you have some very bright colors, let's say in the sky. It means in the reflection there will be a little bit more darkened in a way, you know, not as bright. So this is what we are going to try to achieve right now. For this, I'm taking my dark blue and adding a little bit of a burnt umber. And you can use any brown you have. If you're using black, then go ahead and use your black. I mean, added a little bit to the blue because it shouldn't be fully black, of course. It should still be blue, but not as bright blue. And now we're gonna paint wet on dry. So, but you know, don't be too fussy about it, because as soon as you get fussy, it just loses all the lightness. So just approximately say to yourself, okay, I believe the shadow from the mountain will be somewhere there. Now wash your brush, take clean water, and just let it flow. Again, try not to mix too much with the yellow underneath. And also try to avoid those sunbeams that we made before. And now you can add more blue, because towards you the reflections would be a little bit brighter, and cobalt blue as well. So I'm making this kind of vignette effect. Now I'm just going to smooth out the edges. And if you feel like you're losing your sunbeams, simply lift the paint again. But the edges should be smooth. So here, if you're using cotton paper, it will be a little bit easier because it will take time for the paper to dry. If you're using cellulose paper like me, then you would need to work a little bit faster. And that's perfectly fine. We're gonna make the most of what we have, and I think the effect cellulose paper gives also pretty nice sometimes. I can't say that I don't like working on it. I have it much worse with mixed papers, when it's like 50% cotton, for example. That's just a no-no for me. And then remember to add some pinks, because we have pink clouds. But generally just play with it. Whatever feels good for you. How do you want this paradise sea to be, right? You're the artist. And that's your painting. You can do whatever you want with it and nobody can say anything about it. I feel like I lost a little bit of golden towards the center in my sea, so I want to add this as well. And here I'm blending a little bit together because usually, well, not usually, but you can't always see that clear distinction on the horizon where the sun is. And I can also blot a little bit. So something like that. And now while the sea is drying, I'm gonna add some trees in the distance, and for this I'm going to use Perylene Green. And you can just add black to the green you have, or add dark blue or purple, so there are many options. And I'm just doing some random scribbles. And if it goes a little bit into the sea, then it's perfectly fine, because then you'll get that natural reflection. And then they're becoming smaller towards the edge. And another thing is that those trees are far away, so we cannot clearly see the edge of them. So I think it would be good just to blur out some of the edges so that it looks like something you can see clearly, but some things are barely distinguishable. And a tiny bit on the other side as well, because there's some greenery. Maybe it's there, or maybe it's just a shadow, who knows. And now check your paper. You can, if it's already dry enough, you can just start painting the reflections right away. But if it isn't, then try it again, because otherwise you will get all the blooms that might not look that good in this situation. Now it's dry. So I'm taking a little bit of the same green again. And here I can even go over these white parts because I don't want them to be that prominent. Same on the other side, just a little bit. And now just blurring it. You know, our brain can make the picture of it. We just need a hint of what's going on. And then our imagination will do all the job for us. Actually, here I think I'll add a bit more trees there. And this is it for today. I'm very happy with the result. Now I'm just going to let it dry, and if you feel like you can add, for example, some birds in the sky, maybe you can add some grass or something in the front view, but that's up to you. I like it just the way it is. So I'm gonna leave it for now, and if you, like me, for this tutorial use the cheap watercolor paper and then it barcode, don't get upset. Just make sure that it is fully dry and then put it under a very heavy book or two and leave it for a couple of days, and it's gonna turn out just fine. So let me know if you enjoyed this tutorial. Please let me know in the comments down below, because I'm not doing them that often, and if you would like me to make more of them, then I would like to know if this is something what you would like to see. And yeah, I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you are going to paint it, then please make sure to post it on Instagram and tag me, and I'll be so very happy to check out what you came up with, because the colors that I used is just one of the options. You can definitely play a lot with them, and I'm just looking forward to seeing what you come up with. But thank you for staying till the end and for watching this video, and see you in the next one. Bye!